Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. It's getting on towards the end of the month, which means it's time for me to take a look ahead at what I'm going to be reading next month. So in the tradition of my reading plan videos, my MBR rather than my TBR, I'm going to go through a collection of books that I've penciled in to read in the upcoming month, and then after that I've got my typical bunch of might be read titles that I probably will not get round to. Some of these I've had on the list for several months now, and it seems a bit silly me still including them, but one day, hopefully, I will get to some of these. This may not be the month though. Let's go see what we have got in store for October. So first of all, I've got a couple of ARCs, a couple of advanced review copies that I've received, one from an author or publisher technically, and one from NetGalley. So I've penciled those in for October due to the release dates. The first of these I'm really looking forward to. It's the finish of a series, although I've not actually tracked this one on my reading stats. I really should do that. This one is Children of Memory, book 3 in the Children of Time series by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This is a sci-fi series. We started off with Children in Time, then had Children of Ruin, and now we've got the end of the series coming up. The release date for this one is the 24th of November. I've had it on my Kindle for a month or so already, and I've just been waiting for October so I can read it without being too far in advance of a release date. I really enjoyed Children of Time. I love Adrian Tchaikovsky's imagination. He's such a clever author and he's so versatile in his writing, whether it's sci-fi or fantasy, and I've read a good selection of both genres from him. With this one, I'm hoping we're going to end the series on a bang, because I didn't enjoy Children of Ruin nearly as much as I did Children of Time, but it was still overall an enjoyable experience. I have no idea where we're going in this next book. As with Children of Time to Children of Ruin, there wasn't really a clear thread as to where the next book would take us. That's exactly what we've got here, so it's kind of going in blind, although I will already know the idea and various characters that are going to be involved. So I'm looking forward to this one. I don't really know what to expect with regards to the story, but I do know what to expect as far as the writing goes. And then the second review copy that I have is just a novella, so much easier to fit in around these other big books that I'm reading. This is Strangers in the Promised Land, which is book 1.5, if you like, of Continua Chronicles by Jim Wilbur. Calling it book 1.5 in the series means that it is set after the first book in the series, so I quite enjoyed the 7th cadence, and two of the characters who I really appreciated but weren't really kind of key characters are the sisters Amy and Mara, and those two are the characters that we follow in this novella. So I'm quite looking forward to this one as well, to see where they go next, what they do, and have a bit more of an expansion of those two as characters, but also the world and the overall story as well. This one comes out on the 24th of October, so I'll be looking to read this in the first couple of weeks of the month, ready to have my review up and available for release date. The next two books on my list for October are both selected by my patrons. So the first of these is my buddy read pick. I put out a poll of 3 titles, and the patrons in my Griffin Rider and Dragonlord groups voted on the title they most wanted to buddy read as a group. And the book that they picked out this month is one that I'm going to be doing on audio, and that is In the Orbit of Sirens, a sci-fi title by T.A. Bruno. This one I'm literally going into blind, as I quite like to do anyway, but I do not know the first thing about this title, other than the fact that it was a finalist in last year's SPSFC, which is the self-published science fiction competition that was in its first running, so it's got good pedigree in that sense. I've also got a fair number of friends who have read this book and have quite enjoyed it, so I'm looking forward to going into it on the back of some really good recommendations. I was lucky enough to win a copy of the audiobook of this through the Indie Accords Discord recently, so it's a nice timely buddy read for this one. And if I like it, I also got the second book in the series on audio as well, so I can go straight into that the following month as well, if the mood suits. And then the second of my patron picks was a book off my TBR, and this month it was my patron Wise Stitch who was selected from the Wheel of Names, and he went through the titles I've got on my list to be read, and I was quite surprised, but pleasantly so, that he picked out Blue Moon Rising by Simon R. Green. Now, I've spoken about this book several times on the channel, as it was one of the, if not the book that got me into epic fantasy, and I saw this was available on graphic audio recently, and I thought I would give it a go on that to see what it's like, jog my memory of it a bit, because it's been a long time since I've read it, and of course to see if it stands up, to see if I still enjoy it as much as I did back then. So I'm really pleased about this one because it's been a long time since I've read it. I really enjoyed the story, but more than anything, it's got that nostalgia factor for me because it was pretty much the first epic fantasy I read. The only thing I'd read beforehand in the genre was The Lord of the Rings, so this was definitely my gateway to epic fantasy. And I've got a couple of people who are going to be reading this with me as well, so I'm looking forward to seeing what they think of it, but also having a bit of a conversation as we go through the book. And then another buddy read that I've got penciled in towards the end of the month is The Darkest Dusk by D.W. Ross. This is one that I've had on the list again for quite a long time. I read the first book in the Onyx-Born Chronicle, Cold from the North, several months ago. I quite enjoyed it and I fully intended on going in the next month to book 2 in the series for Darkest Dusk, and then just never got round to it, and it's just been sitting there waiting since then. We've got book 3 in the series. The Fury of Fate is going to be released very soon. It's towards the end of October, I believe it is. So Nina and myself have decided that we're going to finally pick this one off the shelf, do it as our buddy read for this month, and then hopefully we'll then be able to move on in November to book 3 and finish out this series. I really enjoyed Cold from the North. You could tell it was a debut novel. There were a few bits where it could do with a bit of polishing perhaps, and I'm looking forward to seeing how D.W. Ross has progressed as a writer since then. Again, I've got friends who've read this one and really enjoyed it, so I'm looking forward to getting back into the world and seeing where the story goes and the development of the characters and things like that, but also to finishing the series and seeing if I agree with those friends who've read this book and really enjoyed it. So once I've got through those, I've got 4 books and a novella, presuming that I don't have anything carried over that I'm reading at the moment or that I start to read before the end of September is upon me. I've got several books, as I mentioned at the top of this video, that I've got in my reading lists, my goals for the year, that I haven't yet got to. Some of those are obviously going to appear in the November and December MBR videos, although there's not too many books actually that I've still got on the lists that I haven't done. There are a couple that I might not get to. There's at least one that I'm actually now planning not to get to, but I'll touch on that when I come to my year-end wrap-up and I'll look at my reading goals and whether I met them and so forth, and also my series video where I look at all of the books that I'm reading or all of the series that I'm reading and look at what's on my ongoing series list and what's moving off to my DNF or soft DNF piles, as the case may be. So for this month I'm going with the 4 novels and a novella, and then there's a whole bunch of books that are kind of perpetually in my MBR pot, ready to be picked out when I clear what I call my commitment books, the ones that I'm committed to reading in that particular month. So in the comments down below, as usual, let me know what your plans are for the month ahead. What are you most looking forward to reading? Are you coming towards the end of any series that you're dying to wrap up before the year is out? While you're down there, don't forget to give today's video a thumbs up if you've appreciated it. Hit subscribe if you haven't already and you want to see more content from me in the future. Down below the video, as always, you can find all my social media and support the channel links where you can connect with me on Goodreads, Instagram, Twitter. Come and join my book club Discord and my Patreon if you so wish. Thanks very much for joining me today. I hope to see you in the next one sometime soon, but until then, as always, take care of yourselves, read some good books. Bye for now.